Welcome to Guided by Third Wheel, the podcast. My name is Amber Ireland, and I'm here with my co-host, Jill Bucaro. Let's get started.
Hey everybody, and welcome back to Guided by Third Wheel. So today, Amber and I are recording on February 2nd. Happy Groundhog's Day to everyone. I do believe that he did see his shadow.
I have no idea.
Long story short, spring is just around the corner.
Mm-hmm.
Yippee.
Yeah.
Woohoo. I think it's important to say the date, even though we don't normally say it, because things are unfolding and happening in our world at a really rapid pace.
Yep.
So Amber and I are sitting here this Groundhog's Day morning with spring just around the corner and wanted to come to you today to just hold space, process a little bit about how we're feeling. Mm-hmm. It has been a wild 2 weeks really, in America, in politics, in policy.
Right.
There's a lot of folks in the field that Amber and I work in that rely on things like federal grants, that are federal employees. So it's just been a lot of turmoil and chaos, would you say?
Yep.
And a lot of fear.
Yes.
A lot of anger. Yes. A lot of frustration. We're all seeing an uptick in ICE activity and folks getting arrested for varying documentation statuses. And it's just been a really, really hard couple of weeks.
Yeah.
So we thought it made sense today to process and share through how we're feeling, some of the tips and tricks and things that we remind ourselves of. How do we stay grounded?
Right.
How do we get out of a place of just being totally overwhelmed by anger and fear? And how do we understand when and how we can truly be effective in fostering change and bringing hope and bringing protection, etc., positive stuff to the people around us and in our communities? So not a small undertaking these next 30 to 40 minutes. Let's start with a check-in. So how have you been feeling these last couple of weeks, Amber, and what have you been picking up on just around you too?
There's definitely an uncertainty that is bubbling around, as always happens whenever we have any change in our lives. There's a period of uncertainty, and some people handle change better than other people do. Some people are immediately able to be like, okay, where is the opportunity within this change? And other people are like, change, I don't like that, I'm afraid. And so we've got both of those sides playing out as we move through this change. And then some of this change has been pretty drastic and immediate, right? Sometimes we have, especially in our world around, policies, laws, things like that, we have some time, right? It's like, hey, we're going to do this over the next 2 years. So you've got some time to adjust and change and figure it out and maybe say your piece if you need to or whatever the case may be. And some of the things that have happened very quickly and immediately, which makes the change harder.
Yeah.
And I think for me, I have felt that anxiety, I have felt that fear, and I remind myself that I have to just keep doing what I've been doing. I have to do my own work. I have to be grounded in my own stability. I have to continue to act with an open heart and help other people that are around me in my community.
Yeah.
I have to continue to say, when things change, where is my opportunity here? Where is my opportunity to help more, love more, up level? I'm constantly looking for those opportunities. And I think by doing that, some of the fear around the change gets to fall away because I'm like, okay, this is scary, but I'm going to find an opportunity here to do better.
Yeah. No, I think that's a good way to look at it. And I like when you talked about grounding in your own stability and all of that stuff. I have also felt some anxiety and fear. There's been a lot of that swirling and twirling around us. So I think it would be impossible not to feel that. I've been in a space of anger and resentment.
Right.
I feel like some of these things people feel surprised and it doesn't feel surprising to me. I feel just a lot of disappointment and just this really hateful rhetoric, in that people are like, well, all of these really hard and significant changes are okay. And to me, some of that justification feels really grounded in hate. Which I think no matter what you believe, if hate is the underpinning to to that, that's just the most negative kind of energy there is.
Right.
And I think people's response to that hate is to also hate.
Right.
So there's this piling on of hate, hatred, and anger and divisiveness. And that is just really negative. It feels really toxic. And I find myself responding with anger and resentment. And I think for me, it's a control piece too. I love control. And I think some of that resentment, it's, well, gosh darn it, if you guys would have just listened, had you just seen, had things unfolded the way that I thought they should have, we might not have to be here, right? And people might not have to be getting arrested, and we might not have to be talking to our partners and our friends about grocery shortages. But I think to me, in hearing you say that, it was like, oh, some of this is about control, because we have no control right now.
Right.
And I was having this conversation with someone. Some of this stuff that is unfolding to me feels reminiscent of the train is hurtling down the tracks.
Right.
And I just don't know how much we as individuals can impact that trajectory right now. And I mean, us as individuals, like those of us derping along in Dayton, Ohio, doing what we can do. There are, I always call them the adults in the room. There are people with power, and I can't control whether or not they wield that power or how they're going to wield it. And I think letting go of that has been a painful process.
Right.
But circling back to what you said, to me, the most productive thing I can do is to try to keep myself healthy, try to keep myself in a good space, and think about how can I affect whatever change, hopefully that it is positive, in my family, in my neighborhood, with the people I love, with the clients I serve, and focus on that.
And control yourself. That's the only thing we've ever been able to control. We fool ourselves sometimes into believing that we can control other things.
Sure.
And certainly we can influence things.
Yes.
Right? But the control piece is only within ourselves, and making sure that we're taking that step back and saying, what do I need to control within me? What emotions, what things are coming up for me because of this, and what do I need to do for myself, right? And that doesn't mean fuck everybody else.
No.
It means that I'm going to take care of myself so that I'm open enough to be able to help other people do the same. And though the train may be going down the tracks, it's barreling in whatever direction it needs to go, we do have an ability to influence how it is going to impact us moving forward as a collective, right?
Yes.
As individuals. And yes, there may be things that come along that create significant changes and hardships in people's lives, terrible things in folks' lives. However, we can only control ourselves and how we allow that to impact us and our community, right? And at that level, we do have a little bit more control, or at least more influence, to say, here in this space, we will be safe. Here in this space, we will hold space for one another. We will have this unconditional love for one another.
Yes.
We will create the safe spaces. And though this is not the way that I would have ever thought change was going to come, this is where we are now.
Yeah, that's an important piece too, because I think we can get caught in just the frenzy of emotions, right? And we're not thinking about just how do I manage myself, the people around me, and we almost become paralyzed, right? And we're so focused on what's happening over here at this higher level that we truly have no control over at all. And we're neglecting the spaces and the people that we do have some influence over. And I think I found myself in that space this week, that I was just so concerned, particularly about funding freezes, particularly about federal employee stuff, and just was spiraling in that. And I think lost a lot of opportunities to take care of my tribe or to take care of myself. And I want to give myself some grace for that, because I think when you're bombarded with all of this stuff, which it does feel kind of a bombardment, like you talked about all of this fast change, you're just like, and you're stuck. I just didn't really do much of anything, right? And if I'm not going to take care of my clients, if I'm not going to put together resource guides for my community or mentor the people that I've been mentoring for the last 6 years, no one else is going to step in and do that.
Right.
And there is space for me to influence and educate and organize. But I was so busy over here just being, what the fuck is the point?
Right.
Because what is looming feels so big and what I can do feels so little.
Right.
But then I found myself doing nothing. And that's not the answer either. Because to your point, if we each do a little something, then that is how you start to influence the track or the trajectory of
or
the
the
train.
speed, or whatever. And as you were talking, I was just thinking about the fact that we are sitting here and we both have a lot of privilege in this world.
So much.
And I think about people who don't and how this sounds when we're like, oh my gosh, what is happening? And they're like, yeah, this has been happening to us for how long? Right?
So true.
And what can I learn from this? What can I learn from this? Because at this point today, in February, I feel like I have less privilege than I did in December.
Yeah, absolutely.
And I don't like it, right?
Yeah. And I feel like we've probably, for the first time or some of the more poignant times in our lives, we are feeling like the people who are in charge do not have our best interests at heart. And that has been the reality for many, many folks the entirety of their lives.
Right.
You said at the very beginning, what do I need to learn from this?
Yeah.
What awareness is this bringing me? And I think that is a huge piece of it. You're right. We're just two nice middle-class white ladies, college educated.
Right.
And we're like, what do you mean you're not going to center my needs and interests?
Right.
And everybody's like, well, dummies. I didn't think that's where you were going with that. But when you started talking, I thought, oh my gosh, I had another aha. We are sitting in privilege. And then, so I need to get myself the fuck out of panic mode. Because guess what? Ain't nobody coming to arrest my husband, right? Ain't nobody coming for my job today. I have enough money that if groceries are 25% higher, I can still buy them and feed my family. I'm not reliant on Medicaid and food stamps. So I need to get my cortisol in my brain the fuck under control. And be able to engage in some thoughtful, actionable stuff so that the people that really do need to panic can panic and have some non-fight or flight thinkers in the room.
Yeah.
I've always been better at doing the right thing for other people, right? Than just doing it for myself. So I imagine there's other people out that too. And we need to get it together and stop being hysterical for the people that have at this moment in time really real reason to be hysterical. Easier said than done.
Yeah.
What are some of the things that you've done to get yourself out of that space of fear and anxiety and into a more grounded space? And you have a lot of people that look up to you. You have a lot of teams that you're leading. What is the message that you're trying to give your people right now?
The message I'm trying to give is, let's be informed on what's going on, right? Let's not catastrophize, right? Because we can, if you listen to the news, if you watch social media, everybody is saying different things about what's going on.
Yeah.
And some of it is accurate and some of it is not, and some of it is speculation. And at the end of the day, what I want to make sure that I'm focusing on is what is really happening in my community and what I need to do to help the people that work for me, that get services from my organization, from Third Wheel, my family. What do I need to do with that information in order to help them navigate this as well? And how can I stand in a place where I am grounded and people can see that so that maybe they can feel a sense of groundedness as well? Because I know that I can be an example. As I've reflected on this, I feel like all of the growth that I have done has led me to the place where now I can be grounded in this state. So I do feel a call to be like, okay, you can do this. Not everyone took the same path you did. So be grounded for yourself and for other people now.
Yes. That groundedness is so key. And I talked a little bit about the cortisol response or the panic response in the brain. And I think all of us, unless you're just totally checked out, everybody for sure had some cortisol hit their brain this week, right?
Yeah,
like you said, the change, the volume of change, the immediacy of the change, all of that, we're like, wah! And we know that when you move into panic mode, fight or flight mode, adrenaline mode, right, whatever you call it, we know for a fact, physiologically, our critical thinking, our decision making, our prioritization, that part of our brain, the prefrontal cortex, all becomes compromised.
Right.
And we owe it to ourselves to try to get out of that. I am a social worker. I am a one-woman show of a program. I have a lot of clients, and I have a lot of clients who are undocumented or come from families of various documentation statuses. And I truly just spent a whole week just panicking, like, what do I do? This work feels so stupid and inconsequential compared to what is going on in the world. Should my time be spent doing this work, or should I be, I don't know what I thought I was going to do, I don't know, like chain myself to the federal building. I'm not sure what I thought I could do with what's going on in the world. And then my boss came and gave me like the most simple directive ever. He was like, hey Jill, somebody reached out and wanted to know what the legal services were for folks that need immigration, asylum claims. Can we get a list together?
Right.
I mean, this is something that, given my job and my career trajectory, this is the least complicated hard task somebody has asked me to do in a really long time. And obviously I did it. I pulled it together in a couple of hours. And it's like, why didn't I think to do that 10 days ago? Why did somebody have to ask me for that? Why did somebody have to ask me to put together a list of food pantries and food places that people can get without an ID or having to prove documentation status?
Because we're looking too far up the hill.
Because I'm looking way too far up the fucking hill and I'm just spiraling. And I put that together in a couple hours. It has now been disseminated quite literally to hundreds of people. And now, if nothing else, we know there is at least an accurate list of resources that we can refer people to. And then I start going down the rabbit hole. Well, do they even have the capacity? And is it even going to help? And is it even worth it? And it's like, Jill, those are not your problems to solve. You have these unique skills and abilities. You have this unique positioning in the community to be able to pull together information and disseminate it quickly and efficiently.
Right.
And instead, you are sitting in your bed, doom scrolling, saying, what is the point, of the work that I do? I share that story because we all have those little niches and spaces that align with our unique skills and ability, that align with our ability to network and share information, of the influence we have. And quite honestly, although the work feels inconsequential to me, it is very important to people. And guess what they don't need is another thing falling away from them.
Yeah.
The folks that I serve, they're like, yes, I already have potentially my health insurance and my food and where I get services, all of that is compromised. So now, Jill, you're also not going to do your job. You're going to take one more thing away from me. And I think that's where we have to realize that the work, however silly and inconsequential that it seems, is not that. It is very, very important. And again, like what I said before, those of us that can, because there's some people that because of where they're at in the world, they need to be panicking. They need to panic, and those of us that do not need to stop panicking.
And I even think for those that maybe need to be panicking, you have gifts too.
Yes.
You have things too that the world needs, and ways that you can help yourself and help other people. And all of us, to influence this train, we've got to dig deep and say, where are my gifts? Where are my strengths? Not, I'm going to create this strength of being able to go and influence at the White House. No. This isn't the time, unless that is your strength.
Unless you literally have a way to get in there.
Right. Then that's not your strength right now. So go and hone in on your strength and share that with other people. Right. That is what's going to help us build the community that we need to build. That is going to help people feel seen and be seen and heard and held and have that unconditional love, and reduce some of this fear and this anger that is happening right now. Because we don't need to have all of this fear and anger and chaos in the energy swirling around. There is enough of it that we can't control, but we can control. We're going to ground down and say we are a community that works together and shares our gifts.
Exactly.
In order to protect and love one another.
Yes, you're absolutely right. And I think of energy so much to me when I think about my own energy and what I'm putting out in the world. It really, I think of it almost as a force field, right? Particularly when I am going into spaces that feel combative or unsafe or angry or counter to my values. I do a grounding exercise where I think, no, I am surrounded by whether it's like peace, love, calm, whatever. And to your point, that is real. There is a piece of that that is real. And we need to be thoughtful about what we're putting out on social media, in our texts and conversations with our friends. If we are leaders, how are we talking to our team about what's going on, right? How are we talking to our kids about what's going on and that kind of stuff? Because the way we do it is important. And the energy that we bring to that conversation is very impactful.
It's really easy right now for some of us to look at things that are happening and be like, I hate that person. I hate that system. I hate that decision. All of those things. And to your point, if I'm pushing out hate from me, then I'm full of hate.
Yes.
The other thing that I am pushing the hate toward probably is unaffected by my hate.
Yes.
All I'm doing is creating hate inside myself, and my force field now is hate. And just like a magnet, all of the hate around me will find me.
That's exactly right.
Right? And then I start to spiral. And I'm not saying we need to have some kind of weird emotional bypassing here and be, oh no, everything is fine. You know, all the world is good. But we need to find ways to release that, to have that fear come in, look at it and say, you know what? I am afraid, but I'm going to keep going.
Yes.
And I'm going to let this fear go so that I can keep going. Because it doesn't do us any good to hold on to it. It's not yours to carry around. It's not yours to carry around.
No. And I would say let this fear go. I think another huge thing I'm seeing with folks is let this resentment go. Let this anger go. And it's just what has happened has happened. And we all have a lot of feelings about that. But this is where we're at right now. And we have to, at some level, accept that this is our reality.
Right.
Some of this almost feels akin to grieving to me, that the way the world was, however imperfect and flawed that it was, it is not that way anymore. And I see a lot of people in the denial, no, we can stop this, right? In the anger where I've been sitting, right? In all of that, the bargaining. Well, I can see this, but we definitely can't go here, right? You know, all these lines in the sand. No, we need to move to that acceptance place quickly and say this is what's going on so we can get out of the swirly twirly emotions, not be putting all of that shit out into the universe around us, and like we've talked about this whole time, take care of ourselves, take care of our communities, and have our brain working well enough that when the opportunities for advocacy at a really high policy level arise, because they will, that we are ready for them, that we can walk into rooms and spaces and we can organize quickly and we can do what we need to do to really try to enact positive change. But if we are incapacitated, living in a space of fear and resentment, in our beds doom scrolling, that opportunity is going to pass us by.
We're not going to see it.
We're not even going to know it happened.
We have to be in a space to see the opportunities that are available. And to your point, getting to that place of acceptance that this is what's going on right now. I don't like it. I don't agree with it. Wish it was different. Hopes and prayers, whatever. At the end of the day, this is what's going on. And where are my opportunities? Where are the opportunities for me to find stability and find stability for my community?
Yes.
Within what I have to accept has happened. And if you are a person who does have the ability to affect some of this, to stop some of this, to slow the train, you're an attorney, you are someone who can file a federal whatever it is,
a legislator, a local leader,
then that is your gift. Use it.
Use your power.
Use that platform to do what you can do. Yes. But the vast majority of us aren't there. If I know somebody like that, am I going to get in their ear and be like, hey, you know, what's happening down here is kind of fucked up. Maybe we should do something. I can do that, but I'm not going to spend all of my time doing that and ignoring my community.
Exactly. That's what we have to do, and what we have to commit ourselves to is to getting out of the crazy space, grounding down, and thinking really critically about what can I do. And again, like we said, easier said than done.
Right.
But I don't know what else to tell people to do except for that.
Yeah. I mean, I see this like, I guess, a smaller scale. This is a tower moment.
We are in, the tower is towering.
We are towering right now. And what we know about the tower is there is always room to rebuild. Why not get to work on that?
Yes.
Why not go ahead and start building the foundation that we want? And that foundation around taking care of each other and getting back to taking care of our communities and taking care of our families. And maybe some of the things that we built, you know, they look like they were good, but maybe they did need to fall away so that we could build from this community level again.
Yes, I think a lot in the last couple of decades, and you know, you can blame that on all different things, right? Technology, social media, etc. That sometimes we do take our eyes off of our neighbors or people closest to us. And I think this is a good reminder to put that focus back there.
Yeah. To put it back there and recognize what is this bringing up for you personally, because for a lot of us middle class white folks, we've not experienced anything like this.
That's so true.
And that place of privilege that we had is being shaken at its core. And we need to pay attention to that, not only for ourselves, but for how that impacts everyone else and how it has impacted everybody else before we felt it.
That's exactly right.
We have a huge opportunity there to be more aware and to build stronger communities that don't marginalize people.
That centers everybody's experience and everybody's needs. So we got to go do it.
Yeah.
We got to press on.
The light is bright. The light is being shown. There are a lot of things that I think may be hidden that are coming, but right now there are a lot of lights being shown, and we need to look instead of getting in our bed under the covers and refusing to look at what is being shown to us now.
That's exactly right. Yeah, the time for hiding and tantruming is over.
Yeah.
And we need to look in a thoughtful and organized way. All right. Maybe the universe could give us some guidance. Do you want to pull a card for us?
Let's do a soul's journey.
Love the soul's journey.
All right. Let's take a deep breath together and release. And we can set the intention that we will receive exactly what we need from this podcast and from this card pull today. And I also want to set the intention that we'll receive a little bit of guidance around maybe a place that we could be focusing on, a lesson that we could be trying to learn in this place that feels very unstable, but is the change that we are facing now. So the card that came out is Abundance, which seems like a strange card to have right now. But on the card it says, I am a limitless being and I can manifest whatever I desire into my physical reality. And when we go into the book here, it says, always remember that you are God and God is all about creation. God says yes. The ego says no. In order to have abundance in all areas of your life, you must create the space of receiving and knowing that you are deserving of anything that your heart desires. And the more you can release limited thinking and worry, the more open you are to receiving the infinite flow of the universe. Now is the time to begin to live with realization that you are worthy of having abundance in every aspect of your life. And when you are in the vibration of receiving, you can manifest whatever you desire in this physical reality. And I feel like what that's saying to us in this time is remember who you are. Remember your gifts. Remember that you are not powerless in this space. Even though you may not be able to change things at the root cause, you have power and control over yourself. And though things may change in the world, you can always have abundance internally. You can always have the stability and abundance within yourself.
And I think it's a reminder too that abundance and beauty in a more fair and just and better world is possible too. For some of us, there's this feeling of perhaps this was always all unsustainable and it was never possible, right? That with people the way that they are, with the world the way that it is, that equality and justice and love and cooperation, that those things are pipe dreams.
Right.
And this card reminds me that no, that's not true.
Right.
And we have the ability to realize that, to manifest that, to achieve that lies within each of us. I think there's a part of this that feels hopeless.
Right.
And this card to me is a reminder that no, beauty is achievable.
Yes, even in this situation.
All right, guys, we'll catch you next time.
See ya. Thank you for listening to another episode of Guided by Third Wheel, the podcast. We would be honored if you would like, rate, and subscribe on your favorite podcast platform. Until next time, be well.